Hi, everyone. This is Brian from the ESL podcast. This is my next episode, and this episode is about vaccine skeptics that change their mind. So, I'm going to do a little reading and see how much English that you learned. So, the coronavirus vaccine skeptics who changed their minds. Simmons, a 61-year-old small business owner in Illinois, vividly remembers the moment she went from vaccine skeptic to vaccine ready, watching a Johns Hopkins University doctor on C-SPAN make the case for why shots are safe. For Lauren Bergner, a 39-year-old homemaker in New Jersey, it was when she realized it would make it easier for her and her family to attend New York Yankee games after a team announced fan would need to show proof of negative coronavirus test or that they have been vaccinated. And Elizabeth Greenway, a 34-year-old communications consultant in Pennsylvania, it was the sudden fear that if she got sick, she wasn't sure who would take care of her 2-year-old daughter, who has a rare health condition. Thinking about herd immunity, thinking about my daughter, thinking about all of that, I just realized it's all about being part of something bigger than yourself, said Greenway, who's had to cut back on work to care for her daughter. Simmons, Bergner, and Greenway are among the growing number of vaccine skeptics turned vaccinated Americans, a sign of hope amid the slowing pace of vaccinations nationwide. Among half of all of the adults have yet to receive the first shot, although they are now eligible, and rolling rate of new shots has dropped to its lowest level since March. The emergence of these mind changers suggestions that at the least, some vaccinated worry Americans are willing to reconsider when their concerns are addressed by those they regard as credible. Their controversies, along with 16 other formal skeptics who joined a focus group last week, have drawn intense interest from the White House officials and public health experts, hoping to recreate those moments for those tens of millions of Americans who remain in the no camp. Experts fear that failing to achieve high levels of immunity could prolong the pandemic in the United States, particularly of unvaccinated people continued to be infected and the virus continues to mutate as it spreads. I think we should all look at India, and we should not be so arrogant as to believe that it could not happen here, said Brian Crestani, the head of the Belmont Foundation, a public health organization that helped convene last week's focus group and several prior sessions pointing that the country's surging outbreak. Lessons from focus groups and accompanying polling also informed a new series of public service announcements produced by the Vermont Foundation and featuring Republican doctors in Congress, which are set to be released Monday. While some vaccine skeptics have panned pitches for politicians, including high-profile PSA starting former Presidents Barack Obama, George W. Bush, and Bill Clinton, the go-up lawmakers say that they believe that their appeals will resonate with a conservative base that is disproportionately resistant to taking any type of vaccine. About a quarter of adults say they're not planning to get vaccinated, including 40% of people who lean Republican, according to the Washington Post ABC News poll release. What separates us from former presidents is we're all physicians and healthcare providers, said Republican Brad Wanstrup, Ohio, the head of the Go-Op Doctors Caucus, which members appear in the ads. And we're doing the ads in white coats because that's what people trust. So this is a little bit of reading about vaccination skeptics. So some of the vocabulary that you heard in this podcast was arrogant, praise, mutate, homemaker, and credible. Usually the word homemaker means a person who looks after a household duties such as cleaning and shopping. Someone who is credible is believable and also reliable. To mutate means to change forms. I used to hear this a lot when I watched comic books. It would mutate into something else. Yes? And then the next one was arrogant. And when you're an arrogant person, that means you believe that you cannot be hurt. And to praise means to say something as a compliment. So these were some of the words that you heard in this podcast. Thank you so much for listening. My name is Brian, and I'm looking forward to next week when we have our next podcast. Thank you for listening.